this word logos, which
Yeah,
we have translated as word.
right.
I'm told that this word logos can mean many, many, many other things. It can mean reason, for instance. Uh, why did it end up being translated into English as word? Did the Greek readers of this, were they thinking something like word when they read it, or were they just thinking of that entire complex of meanings? How limiting is it to say word?
Um, it's the Greek readers might have been thinking about some of those other things. Certainly, when Saint Augustine read the Neoplatonists, he believed that they were on some kind of similar track, because he said you can find in the works of the Neoplatonists, not expressed in the same way, but you can find the same meaning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It's there. It's there in a shadowy way. But you won't hear in them, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, right?
Right.
Still, though, I mean, it's translated in English word because that's the nearest translation we have, and Jerome translated it into Latin. It was translated as verbum, meaning word.
Right.
But I like to emphasize the verbal quality of what it would have been in the Aramaic, or the classical Hebrew. Devar in classical Hebrew word has a strong verbal quality to it, the quality of action. It's not something that just stands there in pristine untouchability, a merely intellectual thing, a concept, or an intellectual power like rationality.
Right.
In the Hebrew understanding, it is a speaking, right? And a speaking implies a speaker and someone to whom the speaking is spoken. So, for instance, in the Hebrew understanding, right, what we call the Ten Commandments are known by Hebrews as the 10 words. Okay, the Word of God is the speaking of God, and it has an active and personal force. All right.
Right.
And that's why I resist intellectualizing too much the idea of the word, right, as something shiningly impersonal, abstract. It's intensely personal in the Hebrew mind because it's a speaking that implies a speaker and someone who hears what is spoken, and the speech itself. And there we almost have the Trinity, right? So in the beginning was a speaking, right? And the speaking was God, and the speaking was with God. The speaking was facing God. The speaking was in front of God, facing him. And the speaking was God.
Right.
They've got the mystery of the union of the Son with the Father, although they are distinct. And it comes across more clearly if we try to go back from the tendency of Greek, which is to abstraction, back to Hebrew, whose tendency is almost never to abstraction, but to the concrete.
Right.
Things, persons, actions.